structures, it's very difficult to move people without a vote, and clearly where you have a majority, where you have a veto in the Security Council, you can't. There's a paradox. We can't vote to change the rules without the agreement of the Russians. But what is happening is that I think that the great middle of the UN congregation, if you like, is starting to realize quite how horrific this is. And with every day that goes by, as they watch the heroism of the Ukrainian resistance, and they see what's happening in Ukraine, and they see episodes like the shelling, like the missile in Kharkiv, and the destruction of civilian populations, I think people's stomachs are being turned by what's happening, and they're seeing that it is necessary to stand up against Russian aggression, to support the Ukrainians, and to endorse our strategy, which is that President Putin must not be allowed to succeed. He must fail in Ukraine.
So what we now see is a new wave of attack against Ukraine, against innocent people, and a column of heavy Russian armor which is moving towards Kiev will bring more death, more suffering, and more civilian casualties. And that's the reason why we need to continue to provide support to Ukraine, why we continue to call on Russia to stop this bloody war, and why we need to impose costs by the heavy sanctions on Russia. And why we also should once again commend the bravery and the courage of the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian armed forces, and also the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This is horrifying, this is totally unacceptable, and it's a blatant violation of international law.
Thank you.
Alexander Bilak, Delphi News. Question to Boris Johnson. By the middle of March, the UK will have sent here about 2,000 troops. That's definitely a big support for us. But what would happen? What would have to happen, or what would be the trigger point for you to double it or triple it, or what's the limit?
Well, thank you very much. We're very proud to be working here with our friends, with our French friends, with our Danish friends, and of course with our wonderful Estonian hosts. And I'm delighted that we're doubling it. It's a big commitment that we're making. I think that we'll always keep things under review. But what you can take it from me that our priority is the safety, the security of our friends and partners across the whole of the eastern frontier of NATO. And we're increasing our presence not just in Estonia, but in Poland, in the skies above Romania, in the eastern Mediterranean, in the Black Sea. The UK is beefing up our presence on NATO's eastern flank. And the message we need to get over, and I think we are collectively, all of us, is that if Vladimir Putin thinks he's going to push NATO back by what he's doing, he's gravely mistaken. This will end up with a fortified and strengthened NATO on his western flank. He'll have more NATO, not less NATO.
Thank you. Unfortunately, this is all the time we had. Thank you everyone for coming.
Danish television. I go on. Something tells me you'll have a brilliant question.
Yes, of course I will. You've doubled your number of troops here at the base in Tapa. Denmark is due to arrive next week.
Yes.
Would you like to see Denmark increase the number of troops here as well?
All I can say is that I had a great conversation with Mette, with your Prime Minister, the other day. She was fantastically robust. I think she understands the problem very well. I'm glad that Denmark is increasing its contribution. We work well with our Danish friends, and of course it's always good that Denmark is contributing more. But I hesitate to go beyond that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Based on the questions that you got, based on the questions, Marika Walsh with the Globe and Mail, this morning you got some tough questions from a Ukrainian reporter. And today, this afternoon, you're telling the crowd here, we as the international community have responsibility to do everything we can to help the Ukrainians in their efforts. So are you actually doing that if you are not granting the request from Ukraine for a no-fly zone?
Thank you. And I just want to get back to the points that Kaja and Jens and all of us have made today. It is very, very important to understand that NATO is a defensive alliance. This is a time when miscalculation and misunderstanding is all too possible, and it's therefore crucial that we get that message over. That does not mean that we cannot help our friends, or it does not mean that they do not have a right to self-defense, and we can help them in that self-defense, and that is what we are doing. When it comes to a no-fly zone, which is I think what you asked, in the skies above Ukraine, we have to accept the reality that that involves shooting down Russian planes. As I said in an answer to I think the first question, that's a very, very big step. It is simply not on the agenda of any NATO country. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes the press conference. Thank you for following.